give some additional augmentation to the efforts of making sure that people's lives and their property is protected. That's what we would expect in an organized society, a civil society. In fact, laws cannot be broken with impunity. And if they are broken, then they'll be punished. That's part of the, in fact, the protest today is if somebody's broken the law, done something in violation of somebody's constitutional rights, they should be punished, and I expect that they will. But it cuts both ways. So we're going to make no mistake that we're going to do whatever is necessary to restore order to our state, to our capital city here, Salt Lake. Mayor Mendenhall has my 100% full support to do what we need to do to, in fact, restore order here in our capital city. And I would say that's the truth throughout the state. We have other cities that have maybe smaller protests, but we're concerned about anything that becomes less than peaceful. We'll be there to help our other cities too. So let me just conclude by saying, all of us, as we understand the issues at hand, will stand tall for civil rights. If there's bigotry, if there's racism, that should not be tolerated. We live in a state that leads the nation when it comes to volunteerism, charitable giving, helping neighbors, helping people we don't even sometimes know, because we care about them as children of God, neighbors that we don't know, but we want to make sure that their lives are better. That's unique in Utah compared to many places in the world today. What we see today is not typical Utah behavior. So let's make sure we do our part to make this a day that we won't look back with some embarrassment and be ashamed of what's taken place. We're better than that here in Utah. So again, thank you, Mayor Mendenhall, for your leadership. We support you. We back what you're doing. And certainly the 8 p.m. curfew through Monday, we support and we'll help you enforce it.
Just here, Library Square. We need to open them up. Fourth out. We need to go to fourth.
This is Chief Mike Brown. Today has been a very hard day. It breaks my heart to watch what is happening here in Salt Lake City. We want to thank those who came to peacefully protest. And I'm asking, in fact, I'm pleading with you to clear the city. I'm calling for a stop of violence and property damage. This is uncalled for. It doesn't further the message. We will be enacting a curfew from 8 p.m. tonight through Monday at 6 a.m. in the morning. We have a unified command with federal, state, and local personnel, and we intend to be on the street. We will enforce the laws and this curfew. We have put resources downtown to prevent looting and violence. All available officers in the valley have responded to Salt Lake City and are being implemented into this plan. We will be enforcing this curfew and working to stabilize the infrastructure. Make no mistake.
Yes, we're giving an
echo what the governor said. We will prosecute those that are committing these crimes. I mourn the murder of Mr. Floyd and what we saw in Minneapolis.
Finally getting a push on the fourth
as a city are committed to ensure that nothing like that happens here in Salt Lake City. But fellow Utahns, this is not the way. Why did it take us so long? My hope was that it wouldn't turn to this. And sometimes it doesn't pay to listen without a good strategic plan. Often we just become the targets, and our mere presence escalates the situation, which we saw today. Neighbors, friends, please stay at home and pray for everybody down here that this comes to a safe end. I want to thank Mayor Mendenhall for her leadership, the governor for his leadership, and my dear friend, Pastor Davis. Thank you for your inspirational words.
Order Officer Leslie from command.
We can take a few questions if you'd like.
We have a question from Jim Spina. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, Jim, and ask.
Okay, yeah, Jim Spivak with KUTV, if everyone can hear me. Thanks for taking a quick question here. My question, maybe for Chief Brown, if you know at this point, is there anything that indicates inciting the violence that we're seeing, not even from the state of Utah, that have come here to participate in this violence?
Jim, good question. At this time, we don't know.
The South Short MRAP's on scene of the staging. It is a rescue unit only. A rescue unit only arrived at staging. Copy. As we have protesters coming in from 300 east on 400 south behind the line. Sign them off. I copy. 537 to the captain, so I'm not expecting to the building. 37-1834. Grounded at the 8D 4 south walking westbound. How big is it? About 40. They're being pushed by officers, so let's try and keep up. I got this, sir. Right, Dr. Dorn. Fire from car 121. Copy branch off. I'll be at logistics. Copy car 121, logistics. Fire from 105. 105, guys. Please just announce and reiterate over the air that all companies should go to their assigned task force operation station. I copy all. Crews go to their assigned task force operation station. I did the announcement to go to their branch operation. To re-announce with the other detail. And for Mike 76. Copy that. That announcement was made and companies are checking in. That's it. 780 priority. 780. Video showing that protesters are picking up bricks from
You're
library.
out there bullying people. You're just going to making sure that the laws are enforced. The rioting is going to be stopped. So again, we're careful about how we're going to approach it. These people are professional, have been trained for this kind of a situation. And I expect professionalism up and down the line when it comes to enforcing the laws of the city and the state.
Is on 200
This is Matt Canham from the Salt Lake Tribune.
They're holding the line right by the fire.
Has there been any injuries that we know about at this time? Has anyone been hurt? To Governor, if you could comment about the vandalism and messages spray painted on the Capitol building, what you would say about that. And 3, do you have any reaction to the comments from the president indicating that when the looting starts, the shooting starts? Should people in Salt Lake City be afraid of being shot?
Matt, I don't know who's direct the question again. What did you want me to answer? This is the governor.
Sorry, I wanted you to answer about the spray painting on the Capitol and the president's tweet about saying when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Is that, how would you, should people in Salt Lake City be afraid of being shot?
Well, I would hope not. Again, I don't answer for what the president tweets out. I don't know what he was thinking about when he said it, so I'm not familiar with the quote. There may be some history behind, looting and shooting. It does seem to go together too often, as we've seen historically. We don't want that to happen here. I don't expect that it will happen here. But we will enforce the law and make sure that, in fact, the laws are enforced. The graffiti on the Capitol, again, that seems to be a first source of protest, signs, and sometimes they deface public property. Just a reminder, that's against the law. We'll have people out there immediately to try to clean that off and make sure that our Capitol looks presentable as it should be in our capital city. So we're not going to tolerate defacing public property. That's a violation of law also.
I'd like to respond. I think that the president's tweet is racist and intended to incite fear among people, and it's absolutely inappropriate. Beyond that, I'll let Chief answer whether or not anyone has been injured in the activities and actions happened so far.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, looting is a theft. It's the theft of property. It's a property crime. You don't use lethal force to enforce a theft. That's completely inappropriate, and that will not occur. Just short and simple, that will not occur.
Thank you very much, everyone. I think we're going to wrap here. If you have additional questions, please reach out. We'll try to answer them as best we can. And as Mayor Mendenhall said, we will continue to update you as the situation progresses. Thank you.
So the news conference wrapping up with the mayor, the governor, and the police chief, notably. And what we heard there, we heard a couple of things. The police chief telling us, why did it take so long? An acknowledgement, it seems, that the police were not quick to respond to this. He said he hoped that it wouldn't get to this point, worried about, inflaming tensions even more. So that was something that the police chief said. The mayor and the governor, in line with one another in terms of the use of the National Guard to try to quell this crowd. But then there was a break between the two in terms of what President Trump had tweeted a couple of days ago. When the looting starts, the shooting starts, the president said that wasn't meant to be racist. The mayor thought it was. The governor not commenting on that particular tweet specifically. But everybody seems to be on the same page now in the response. The curfew on from 8 o'clock tonight until Monday at 6 a.m. You can't be on the street with a few exceptions. So in Salt Lake City, locked down again, and it's not because of coronavirus, it's because of what you're seeing here on the screen. Kelly Vaughn, I think, is about ready to go. She's back from downtown Salt Lake. Yes. Kelly.
All right, we're back. Yes, okay, so this car is still burning. The police had set a line back this way, but they've since backed up. And just a few minutes ago, the demonstrators were right up with police, and it looks like there was some shoving and things going on up there. They've since backed off, but this car, it's still burning here. We did see some shoves being given between the police and the demonstrators. They were right up in their face. Now, the intersection behind here has been cleared and pushed back maybe half a block. But as I mentioned, this line, the police were more towards we are, but they've since backed up. Demonstrators have gotten up in their face, and this car, it's still burning. There's been a few pops as things explode, but people you can see are very close to the flames right now. There hasn't been any effort to... The flames by law enforcement or fire, people you can see are still throwing things at the police, mainly water bottles is what I've seen. So I heard the governor in the press conference talking about the 8 p.m. curfew. I went around, talked to a lot of demonstrators. It doesn't seem like many people plan to leave. I did talk to a few people who said this is getting a little intense, so they plan to head home. But most people said they're going to stick this one out. Right now you can hear them cheering, "I can't breathe." This car's been burning for a while now, and as I've said, no efforts have been made to put the flames out. People have been kind of adding fuel to the fire. Actually, in fact, there's been a number of people that I think have thrown fireworks into the fire that explode and definitely frighten people around here, but I can't say that they are fireworks. Right now, the police seem to be kind of holding that line at the intersection of 400 South, 200 East, and then even further down 200 East, you can see demonstrators were pushed back, I'd say about half the block on that side. So the demonstration's been more spread out. It's not as concentrated in this intersection. Excuse me. But really, it's just kind of moved over here to where this car was flipped. Now, if you didn't hear our report earlier, this car is the car of a man who got out of his car with a bow and arrow. I talked to a number of protesters here who saw the same thing as I did. A man got out of his car with a bow and arrow and was pointing it at people. Demonstrators here attacked him, beat him up. I was told that police took him off to the side, but I did not see that happen. But then that's his car. They broke the windows, flipped it, and it's been on fire. Again, just want to point out that these demonstrators have been here for hours and hours. It's lulled, but it's picked back up, and they've told me, most people say they don't have any intention of obeying that 8 o'clock curfew. But I did ask one of the police officers, how do they intend to enforce it, and he didn't give me any idea. He said no comment. So I don't know what their plans are. And right now it's 6:45, so in about an hour, 15 minutes, we'll see if they do plan on enforcing that, and if so how. But as far as actions from police, we haven't seen much other than them kind of yelling back to some people to back up as they try to push the police line. We did see some rubber bullets being fired at demonstrators earlier who threw water bottles at police. But as far as what they're doing now, it seems that they're just kind of holding that line, keeping demonstrators from getting into the intersection. And now that the streets on that side have opened up, it's now this street here, 200 South, that's been blocked because of demonstrators, and obviously because this car is on fire. If you look at the flames, you can see the stuff people have just thrown in it, some bird scooters, trash. As I mentioned, there were some fireworks going off that obviously startled everybody. But what we're dealing with right now is it's kind of a standoff. People down the street, a lot of people are hanging back. There are a decent number of people in the face of the police line, but a lot of people are hanging back still with their posters, still demonstrating. We talked to a lot of people. What is happening over there?
Copy 161.
Guy with the fucking rubber bullet right in the chest.
An officer? Jake, you want to see if you can see what's going on here? People are telling me that a man was shot with a rubber bullet down this kind of hill. We can check and see. Can you see anything? Don't be careful because it's very steep. We were just told by a demonstrator that a man... You can see police are down there with him. I was just told that a man was shot with rubber bullets, but that wouldn't be a surprise because we did see people get shot with rubber bullets earlier today. Now, this is all happening kind of on a steep edge here, going down. You can see people kind of getting in the face of police down there. I'm sorry. It looks like there's some sort of argument going on between demonstrators and police.
So we have about an hour and 15 minutes before the curfew goes into effect. And here are the exceptions, according to the police department. Law enforcement, fire, paramedics, or other medical personnel, news media, people traveling directly to and from work, traveling directly to and from the airport, seeking medical care, fleeing dangerous circumstances, or those experiencing homelessness. Those are the exceptions. Everybody else is supposed to be off the street. There's the burning car, not far from where Kelly is right now. She said one person shot by a rubber bullet or hit by a rubber bullet. This curfew will be in effect at 8 o'clock tonight, so about an hour and 10 minutes away now, and will apply to the entire city. I thought I heard the mayor said to the entire state earlier. That may have been me not hearing correctly, or perhaps her misspeaking, but it applies to the entire city, extending until 6 a.m. Monday. And the police chief, who acknowledged that officers were not quick to respond here, acknowledged that during the news conference, hoped for something better, said that police will clear the streets tonight. Make no mistake, they will clear the streets tonight. We've been hearing that other police departments now have been called up to help with the situation in downtown Salt Lake City. There it appears to be some members of the Utah National Guard. That's the way it looks to me. Perhaps there are police officers there, but it appears that guard members are now on duty. The governor's saying that 200 members of the National Guard have been authorized to help in this situation to try to quell the violence in downtown Salt Lake City. That is what he is saying. The mayor pleading for people to get out of the off the street and for an end to violence tonight. There was a boom just recently, and maybe another one just now, at that at this vehicle. That's what we saw earlier with the police vehicle that was overturned and set on fire in downtown Salt Lake as well. So we've been watching 2 cars burn. We've also been watching the give and take between police and officers. Several arrests have been made, according to the police department, and the police chief saying, we will prosecute anyone who breaks the law. It may be difficult to determine all of the law breakers here because we've had windows broken downtown outside the library. We've had windows broken at the police station, another flash from that burning car. We've had 2 cars overturned. We had a person with a weapon, a bow and arrow, as it was described earlier. And then we've had people who have taunted police and probably and certainly obstructed, I would think, this area throughout the afternoon and evening. Car burns. People are still on the street downtown. Extra officers are there. The situation is tense, and we are going to have a curfew beginning in a short time.
The officers inched forward. It looks like they pulled the individual back, and now it's escalating even further. I'm going to step out of the way here. We're going to move back away from this line as the violence continues to escalate here. I know Alex is on the other side. I can see him just off into the distance, and he's behind the police line. We're in front of that police line. I'm looking at this from the vantage of the protesters. As I've been talking to people here in this crowd, a lot of these folks said we didn't want it to escalate to this, but now that it has, they're here. Yes, I've been talking to this one woman here on scene. Tell me your name again.
Hallie Peterson.
Hallie, you just saw kind of the Tell me, is this message the message that you are wanting to send personally?
Yeah, the message I want to send is that there needs to be no violence. Police brutality is out of control, and that it just isn't okay. And everyone does not want any of this.
From what I can see, that young woman on the ground, she's being helped up, helped away. She looked like she got caught up, and she was shoving police back. They were pushing her back as well. There have been a few bubble-ups of tension, between the front line and the police, where they kind of shoved, but that's maybe the biggest that I've seen today, where people are getting pushed directly with police officers. Now, this is still happening all right next to the car that's still burning. You can see it from our angle right now. People are throwing water bottles, rocks. People were throwing rocks at the buildings earlier. And it looks like police are just trying to reassess their line and pull that line back after that altercation. I'm looking to see the young woman that was on the ground. I don't see her injured in the immediate vicinity around here.
7-6, if we have officers on this front line by the
people have
library
their arms
that
up.
do not
It's
have
been something that we've
helmets, I
seen
want them
throughout
replaced
today,
with
getting
someone
the
else
police
taken out.
up against the line, saying hands up, don't shoot, people chanting, I can't breathe. And right now it looks like the police line's kind of shifted. It was kind of parallel with the street, but after that altercation, it's kind of at a diagonal, pushing more people kind of towards that burning car.
That needs to be replaced.
There you can see that armored car. It was on this street earlier. They were assessing the car that was burning, and now it's back down.
Police definitely want to hold that line.
So this is
One thing they don't want to do is give up any of the ground that they've already taken.
With people demonstrating. The police line, we're behind those people that line in front of us that you see there right up against where the police are. You hear them, they're saying, hands up, don't shoot.
We're going to be taking medical, one of the officers coming back. Or one officer not knowing anything about it. We're going to be in 593.
Do you want to go try over there maybe and see if we can get a better angle? We're just going to walk over this way to see. To keep our distance, but also see what's going on with
and if you don't have anybody else there,
police. So there's a large crowd here. It hasn't dispersed, or it hasn't shrunken during all of this. You can see up here, this is that intersection where you can see people are getting right up to the line of police. Police standing there with their shields. Police here are armed, and we did see people get shot with rubber bullets who threw, who threw things at officers. And we did hear reports of another man who was shot with rubber bullets by police earlier. There was just that jostle with officers where some people were pushed to the ground. Right now it looks like the line's been reestablished. And all the while, smoke still billowing from the car that was set on fire by the man who showed up to the demonstration with a bow and arrow.
Okay, Kelly Vaughn, downtown, where the police line is holding, but tenuous there for a time. Here is the list of exceptions for the curfew, which starts at 8 o'clock this evening. Law enforcement, fire department, paramedics, news media, people traveling to work. And then we also have folks who are going directly to and from the airport. That also is an exception. Seeking medical care, fleeing dangerous circumstances, or those who are homeless. Those are the folks who can be on the street starting at 8 o'clock, going to 6 a.m. Monday morning. All day tomorrow, curfew in place in Salt Lake City. And the exceptions will remain, but the police chief says the streets will be clear. Doesn't look like it's happening now, with an hour and 5 minutes to go. Let's go to Jenna Rowe. Jenna has moved from the Capitol back down into the downtown area. Capitol demonstrations seem to be rather peaceful, given the turn of events downtown today. Jenna, what can you tell us?
Yeah, we can report on
yeah, Brian, like you mentioned, we have moved from the Capitol. We are back downtown. I'm here on 400 South, 200 East, kind of giving you a different perspective of what this protest looks like. We're actually on top of a picnic table that's just sitting in the street right now, giving you a better view of the number of people that are here. If you look off to my left here, you can see the police line gathered, and I'm actually going to take you around the corner and show you that as well. But we can see the armored vehicles. You can see the crowd pushed right up against the police line. You can see police fully in full riot gear right now. I'm seeing officers from Salt Lake Police, West Valley Police, and then those armored vehicles again. Now we are going to head around this way. I want to give you another look from 400 South. If you guys want to follow me, we're heading right into the street here in 400 South. This entire street is completely blocked off right now. If Eddie wants to spin the camera around right now, you can see now is not a time to head downtown.
Fire Medic Engine 11 en route to West Branch at Station 4.
Copy, Medic Engine 11.
400 South completely blocked off, and then right around here you can see the car that was burning earlier today. That was the vehicle that was set on fire earlier, and you can see the police line. We have officers here from Salt Lake, West Valley Police, and then those armored vehicles there behind them. Brian, we can send things back to you.
It seems much more peaceful there than it is where Kelly is right now. So the police line in some places seems to be holding. Not very many people confronting the officers at this location, which is good. Not so much the case, however, where Kelly Vaughn was, where that car was on fire. Police now, they have their sticks out, many of them in riot gear with the...
Fire Battalion 1, we have the officer at Station 1 now.
I have the officers at Station 1.
Shields, etc. We have seen this image before, but not on this scale. I cannot recall.
Matt, thank you so much for that and your vantage point there on the ground. Let's go to Governor Gary Herbert. He made a statement earlier about what's happening downtown. Let's listen in.
Dealing with eastbound traffic, so it's a little slower.
We're working on that sound for you. Give us just a second here as you're looking live there to downtown. We got it. Okay, let's roll it.
Redeployed to the west side of the public safety building with 2 officers.
Peaceful protesting. But unfortunately, what I've seen in the last few hours is that's gone from a peaceful protest to just criminal behavior. I think we need to call it what it is: criminal behavior where people are looking to riot, to loot, and to create violence, and that's not acceptable.
All right, that was
we honor the ability for people to assemble and to issue their complaints and address the government and peaceful protesting. But unfortunately, what I've seen in the last few hours is that's gone from a peaceful protest to just criminal behavior. I think we need to call it what it is: criminal behavior where people are looking to riot, to loot, to create violence, and that's not acceptable.
A statement. We're going to go now to Alex Guerrero. And Alex, the governor calling this outright criminal behavior.
Yeah, those strong words from Governor Herbert there, but I mean, when you see people flipping over cars, lighting cars on fire, breaking windows, putting graffiti everywhere, I mean, that's criminal behavior. Like the governor said, you have to call it, like he sees it, criminal behavior. Now, there's this one officer here with stuff all over him. He was just hit just a short while ago with a big jug of something, and it nailed him right in the head and exploded all over him. They're taking him out there now to have him checked out. And now we have more police officers that are coming here to try to fill in some of the lines so that these officers who've been out here maybe for the past hour or so can take a breather as police start bringing in reinforcements of their own. So, yeah, I mean, it's still a very tense situation out here, Dan and Lori. Still plenty of protesters. It does slightly look like the crowd here is smaller than what we've seen just a short time ago, but you don't know if that means because they're dispersed everywhere or if they're just going home. We don't know at this point. Again, that curfew is set to happen here in an hour. But I don't honestly think a curfew is going to get these people to go home, to be 100% honest with you. They're here because they want to confront police officers. They're here because they want their message heard, and they feel like this is an important moment for them to have their message heard, Dan and Lori. So the car continues to burn. Police officers do have lines pretty much all the way where we are at Library Square.
6 a.m.
It is protected on all four sides by law enforcement.
Chopper circling right now. We have Jim Winder, former Salt Lake County Sheriff, on the phone with us now. Sheriff, thanks for joining us.
Command from Sheriff 10.
What are you thinking as you're watching these images in a community that you protected?
One can't help but just be excited. This is a tragedy on so many levels. You know, one understands the national mood, but this is not how we behave.
In terms of, and this was a question that has been asked throughout the day, in terms of who are these people who are committing this, and it's not everybody downtown. We should point out that there are a number of people who have watched. They may support this, but they're not actors in these events. Who do you think is responsible for instigating, agitating, and then continuing this destruction?
Well, you've just hit the nail on the head. To understand what is going on, one has to understand crowd dynamics. And the reality of it is there clearly is a percentage of people that are, very emotional and very well-intended and very driven, and came down here to engage in lawful and reasonable protesting. The downside of it is individuals who have a secondary and alternative goal come down and use that crowd as a cover. And then the dynamic increases when people come down here to rubberneck and to watch this situation, and now it becomes a spectator sport, which infuses that element and acts as a cover for what is really the true instigator. And so what law enforcement's job is to do, and it's a very tricky job, is to quickly identify those separate groups. It becomes very difficult in a large crowd. But what the law enforcement officers
they don't have a way to get in with the MRAP in there. It's blocked off. Trying to get access to west side of CSP. We can allow them in to south 30. Just south 30. They'll be in the Bearcat. Headed that way. Sheriff 10.
the instigators, those that have come down here for the wrong reasons, and are using the legitimate protesters and the spectators as cover and concealment. And this can get dangerous very quickly.
Can you identify those instigators tonight?
Yes. Yes, there are techniques that law enforcement will use, and I'm watching it unfold, and they're doing, in my opinion, quite a good job of it. What they do is there are both uniformed and non-uniformed officers that are watching individuals that are engaging in these problematic behaviors or communicating to others to engage in this problematic behavior, and then they are extracting them from the crowd as quickly as possible. And that is, it's kind of removing the contagion out of the crowd, and it has to happen appropriately, it has to happen quickly, and it has to happen surgically. In that, of course, one can also make mistakes when it's dynamic, but one has to try and alleviate that element as quickly as possible.
And once you do that, does the crowd collapse? Or what happens next?
Yeah, what you'll see is if you monitor these groupings, the agitator kind of builds up a head of steam and will take a provocative action, throw something, or assault an officer, that kind of a thing. What they're looking for is the reaction of others around them. And if they see others engage in that, in other words, if they can get this kind of momentum going, that's really, really dangerous. But what you're looking for is if that individual engages in it, for law enforcement to try and excise that individual as quickly as possible. But if they can't get to them quickly and others join in, then even well-intentioned people, Brian, can get caught up in this phenomena of kind of taking a few licks.
The mob mentality.
That's exactly right. And that's where, frankly, even the best of people can get, a head of steam up in a situation like this. That's why we're trying to get people to get out of the city and go away, and to try and lessen the spectators and the people that have come down there just to kind of see what's going on, because it can really serve as a provocation.
Do the agitators even care about the issue, the violence against that police, the overhanded tactics that some police officers, a few, may be committing against people? Do they care about George Floyd?
Well, and it's hard to get into the heart and soul of a human, Brian, but the reality of it is a lot of people have a lot of pent-up rage. They don't like authority in general, and frankly, they have a host of issues. This is an opportunity. We see this in so many circumstances where an individual who's just frankly very angry about a lot of things, this is the moment to pop off. So it's hard to say if any of them truly harbor, concern and emotion for the racial divide in our country, or if they're simply saying, this is my opportunity to break some windows, to taunt these policemen, and to behave in a way that is outrageous, but it's a freedom. So, very dangerous.
Take us through the night tonight. What do you expect will happen tonight into tomorrow while the curfew is in place?
Well, tonight, what will happen in Salt Lake City and the multiple agencies that have responded, they're going to attempt to try and move the crowd, and that assists in dispersing. The goal here is to take the larger crowd and to try and divide it into smaller units. When it divides into smaller units, it becomes more manageable. And then you also see a diminishment of this crowd mentality. Then what they will do is they have enough units positioned throughout the city that they will then move into smaller kind of mobile field force type responses where arises, and they will respond and deal with those small hotspots. Once that configurations throughout the city with enough resources in these, for lack of a better term, convoys, that they will patrol the city to ensure that these problems don't rise up. The darkness is a problem, and we need to get a handle on it, really before nightfall.
Very quickly. What about tomorrow? Do you see police keeping up force in the city at the same level tomorrow into Monday morning?
We understand we're kind of short with manpower.
Yes. Well, here's what I will tell you, and you probably saw this today. And again, I'll applaud the city and the other agencies. their first reaction is to remain a little subdued, and I'm sure they will take some criticism for that. People, I'm sure a lot of your listeners and viewers are saying, gee, why weren't the cops out there in force right off the bat? Well, what they're going to do is, they're going to retrack, they're going to get people some sleep, they're going to coordinate with the other agencies and make sure there's sufficient resources tomorrow, and they're going to amass in anticipation of another wave of this. But they're not going to just hang out in full force and just cruise around like that. That tends to inflame the situation. So their goal is to get a control of it through the evening, try and make sure that these hotspots are contained, and then regroup and be prepared if a second wave should come. My honest opinion is we probably won't see it. I think tomorrow people will wake up from this hangover and they're going to go, my gosh, what hath we wrought? That's what I believe.
Well, let's hope you're right. In terms of another conversation I had today with Chris Bertram, whom you know well, career law enforcement officer, and former police chief, and private investigator. He said, look, as soon as that police car was turned over and on fire, police have to respond to it. They need to you cannot let that happen and not let that go unchallenged. Do you agree with that?
Disregard that. There's a team ready to deploy
as you say, Chris, and I'm not there, is what I would say. And what one has to recognize is a number of factors.
Every 10 steps.
First of all, one has to recognize the availability of your resources, the size of the crowd. There's a whole host of issues that dictate the level and intensity of your initial response. So I just can't comment on that. I will say in general what he says is accurate. I think all law enforcement know this, that when you start getting the hotspots, we learned this clearly from the 1992 riots, what you can't do is delay too long. And so there is an art and a bit of science that says, when do we allow people?
There's too many people gathering in one area.
East Division Command and Fire.
I can agree with that. This looks like depression to me. No threat. It's some peaceful protest.
Gordon from CR10, you've got 11 SWAT units approaching from the east. Copy that. Kilo 983 coming into the city. Where's the staging point?
Roger, 670 East, 200 south.
Got another group ready to come down. Where do you want them? You need your back.
By the way, I live on the opposite side of this, so at some point I'm going to have to figure out how to turn back around.
Here's,
What do you mean push them through?
For walked on. Mike 90 with priority traffic.
Simply haven't had them. So what we're going to hear is a lot of discussion about what equipment should and shouldn't have been delivered and maintained, what trainings should have been managed prior to now, and so on. And people will take that as criticism. It's simply a change of mindset. When we started experiencing these school shootings over the years, those tactics had to evolve and be managed appropriately. And the city has to recognize, and I say the city in broader brackets, the county and the region, we've got to realize that we have to have appropriate equipment. I see driving around today the MRAP that, as you'll recall, I got and took some criticism for. That vehicle is not offensive. It has to be available for situations like this, and that's a reality we have to embrace as a community of 1.2 million.
I think the departments are glad it's around tonight. Jim, thank you so much.
I am.
Yeah, thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate it much. We have Kelly back now with other police officers arriving downtown to help in this situation and to enforce the curfew this evening. Kelly.
We have a call at 400 South, 200 East for assault.
And now I have no unit in North Division available.
You know. North Division. Medic 7's available. We're almost at your station.
Copy that. Scratch that. Medic 7. What's the address on that call again?
400 South and 200 East.
Okay, apparently we have not established contact.
From Ogden.
Now maybe, there she is now. Go ahead, Kelly.
That is.
All right, we saw some other people from Ogden, other officers from Ogden come in.
This is not mobile. Give us an exact location of where she is, Mike 90. Line of business in the doorway. Number 1 corner, 400 South, 200 East. Right, I'm sending guys to get her.
We just came onto the other side of this police line. You can see more people throwing stuff. Since we last talked, the police line has again spread out across this intersection, but there has been no let-up of demonstrators here. They continue, and I've talked to even more people, and I mentioned this curfew that's been put into place, and you know, people here, most of them haven't heard about it. I know you guys are, people watching have seen a lot of the statements from law enforcement and people in government about this curfew. People here, I haven't seen many people watching the news out here. So a lot of people I asked about it, that was news to them. They didn't know there was a curfew. They didn't know what that meant. And most people I talked to said they have no intention of leaving here.
Salt Lake Bearcat, or West Valley Bearcat. Go for north.
It's like the police are starting to push this line back, similar to what they did across 200 East.
You need a rescue unit to switch to channel 2.
The demonstrators moved onto this side.
That's from.
Now, as I've mentioned,
Copy, that'll be medication 7.
Don't have any plans
Copy.
to leave here, at least the ones I talked to. They don't know what the governor is saying. They don't know what the police chief
Under with Salt Lake City's responding.
Heard, what we've been listening to.
The down person at 4th South, 2nd East. It's being handled by Salt Lake City.
They're not leaving here until their message is
Belly,
heard.
stand by.
Until,
My medics just dismounted to recover the officer.
Given. Now, this car has been burning now for a while.
Hey, copy. 4th South, 2nd East. We're on 5th South, 2nd East. Right now. Be there in a minute.
Actually, and taking pictures. But most
and Cobb County westbound. Anybody know why?
Been up here, pushed against the
fighting.
And there's been the Ogden police coming on the other side, but it's just kind of now waiting to
we verify that we picked up the officers from the public safety building, the injured officers.
How they're going to enforce the curfew, Brian.
Cook and Fitz are in the Bearcat leading.
Okay, Kelly, downtown
Mike
tonight,
27, I just dropped off one more.
We don't expect that they're
he had medics
listening
with him.
to the governor and the mayor necessarily. They're not keeping abreast of that. But we do have the police chief saying that the police, make no mistake, will clear the streets tonight and also prosecute those who have broken the law. We also just heard from Jim Winder, former Salt Lake County Sheriff, that officers have done a good job, he thinks, tonight, taking the agitators out of the crowd. What's your sense? Do you have people there whooping it up, trying to get others to, well, there's some fireworks going on, firecrackers.
We have 2 observations.
People have been setting off fireworks occasionally and
10-9, or 10-4.
as far as agitators, I don't know, it seems like everything is calmed down.
Get my request
Usually concentrated around the line of police. I've actually seen a number of people just talking with police. You know, they're right up on the police line, trying to talk to them, you know, saying why they're
South,
here.
2nd East, and West 3rd.
I haven't seen anybody trying to incite
I need a couple cars to hold traffic here so that we don't have pedestrians coming up from behind us.
Had a bow and arrow and people attacked him. There's also
Here, 6-3, we're 300 stop there. You don't have the numbers to stop everybody.
Other than that, I haven't seen people trying to incite much violence amongst the demonstrators.
Okay, so that
but
is something.
It's not letting up.
That
Sorry,
may
go ahead.
that may be something that that is a good development
You're needing immediate support.
The agitators as
on 300 East, 450 South. Vehicles being attacked. Police vehicles being attacked.
Good grammar and spelling are important.
At 400 South, 300 East. And that's 400 south, 300 east. I'm carried out by 561. Windows are now broken. And this line on 200 east, 400 south. Yeah, water structural south. So, 1041, I'm heading to 400 south. Is there a channel they're operating on? Yeah, I'll be over there. Have a good. North Division Command for fire. Go north. We're getting a call at 5020 West Amelia Earhart Drive, which is 350 north, for a 24-year-old conscious signal alert who was assaulted, bleeding from the elbow and a laceration to arms and legs. Happened 30 minutes ago. Is that for North Division or is that for West Division? That should be for West. My apologies, I considering it's North side, but I'm at North. West Division Command, did you copy those details then? West Division, dispatch Quint 9 on the Amelia Earhart. 10-4. Command from CR10, we've got this woman that needs evac medically at 4 South 3rd East. 10-4, transport all patients to Station 1, Fire Station 1, and we have to transport there to the hospital. CR10, command. Go! Are you still waiting for an armored vehicle? Confirmed, we've got her in a litter. We carried her up to 3rd East. We're at 2nd East. We were told 2nd East. We're moving to 3rd East now. Code 4 Bravo, we've got full cross 571 responding with you.
Got to do it surgically. You have to surgically.
Nope. We do not. There's no getting any vehicles in here. This road's completely packed. We are on the northwest corner of 3rd East with the rescue vehicle. We'll cross over and come to you. Just stop when you get up to 3rd East.
Go to Jenna Rowe now.
Hey, Hanson, are you guys still good up there? Yeah, we're about to join you. They lost interest. Copy, thank you.
Report on the east side of City Creek, and if you look over here, you can see officers. Blocking the doorway. You can see that the glass wall heading into City Creek.
Can you guys evac her down to us?
Past a little ways. If you want to come this way, Eddie, you can kind of look past a little ways.
We're coming.
it looks to me as if the Apple store may have glass broken. I can't tell for certain what stores have been necessary.
We're running out of water, so the officers are pulling out of the line. Somehow if we can get some support with that. Hey, sure, man, you guys got more water coming to you. Hold on, sir. Command 01.
Necessarily broken into. There are no people here in the area, but this looks to be the aftermath.
Under construction due north of the field.
Kind of breaking into this area. You can see the shattered glass. Now walk. Walk over here with me. I'm going to show you, we're looking at core life, and this whole glass wall has been shattered.
Gilbert, can we go over by the front of what center?
Just glass everywhere. Looks like people have tried to break into this area.
Fire,
right now, the situation is calm. No, there is no one here other than police blocking off this area. Brian, we'll send it back to you.
Okay, Jenna, appreciate the update. So we've gone from public buildings to private buildings now.
Command priority.
For sure. We also have some video into the newsroom of people who apparently looted the Apple store.
Command priority. Any armored vehicle that has access to the west side of the building for an officer rescue needs to get there now.
This video into us. There's an indication that some taking items out of the Apple store. This is at City Creek, and we don't know how extensive the looting is. We don't know to what degree.
RTF working an officer right now on the west side of public safety building. With a Bearcat west of the CSP, where do you need to rescue vehicle?
At Jenna's live report, now we've got people going inside
the west side of the public safety building. Medics there now working on an officer.
Did not want to have happen, obviously. Wanted to prevent this from occurring tonight. If the crowd could be contained and dispersed from that one location, but the crowd did move to the Capitol at one point.
We have transport available. Get him to Station 1, 500 East, 200 South.
Leaving what we understand is the Apple store. This is another shot near 2nd East and 3rd South in downtown Salt Lake. You've got the armored vehicle and then the line of police officers. The crowd has not come this far. It doesn't seem like it has come this far north from near the library and the area directly across the street from the library, the park. But we still have a police presence here. They don't want this. They do not want to give up any territory tonight, and that's one of the things that we saw in the clashes between protesters and police. If someone were to get behind that police line, that becomes a very serious situation, and that is something that officers are going to take extremely seriously. We have about an hour to go before the curfew is to be in effect in downtown Salt Lake. See the cars that are now moving around that police vehicle and heading north, we believe, on 2nd.
780, we do have a casualty collection point with
the police department would like to have everybody off the streets, including vehicles, by 8 o'clock tonight. Again, there are exceptions to this, but most people, in most cases, are being urged to stay home, stay off the streets, stay away from downtown. We also expect that there will be an increased police presence through the night into tomorrow.
Response for
Former Sheriff Jim Winder did not expect that skirmishes would continue tomorrow, but that is something that police will ward against. There you see the police vehicles, the police armored vehicle moving on 2nd East, crowd on the side. There doesn't seem to be a challenge to the police vehicle. There it is. No one is throwing anything at the officers there.
We've got a 57-year-old male, head injury.
2 blocks south,
Doesn't need
different
stitches.
story. This has been
right.
going on now since about 3:15 this afternoon. So we are now 4 hours plus into this situation. Kelly Vaughn.
Chief, I would really like them not to come right through the middle of the protest.
Downtown, where
Just run an alternate route.
of the protest seems to be.
That MRAP had a downed woman in it. There's no other way to get them out, Gordon.
Seems like
It's not going to go down.
Between police and
The medical MRAP has 3 pages. We're at State Street working our way over to 200 South to head up.
200 South near the intersection.
MRAP is fine. I was referring to agencies that had their windows broken out.
This intersection so demonstrators can't get through. And if you look across, the same thing is happening on 400 South. And then on the other side of the street as well. And then there's also other law enforcement blocking the other end of the intersection.
Line 76 from command, we are doing everything we can to get your resources right now. They just redeployed from City Creek to your location. So we'll have rehab east of you for your team.
Demonstrators. As far as what we're seeing a lot of the demonstrators.
521, responding.
Trying to communicate.
2570 East Nottingham Way, 1370 South, 40-year-old male, conscious brain alert, has low blood sugar.
And the officers, retaliated. We saw some rubber bullets being fired.
No flu-like symptoms.
Shoving,
Protest
things like that. But the line of demonstrators here is pushed off against this line. I talk to even some more people every time. I'm trying to gauge if people plan on leaving here around 8 o'clock. We haven't had many people that said they'll leave. As I mentioned before, most people about the curfew that the city's put in place or the repercussions that come with sticking around here after that. So now these people are staying, the lines up here. There's still that car that was on fire earlier today. Right now, it's just kind of smoking. You saw earlier, this was the fire of a man. Who showed up and attacked him with his car, and it's been burning ever since then.
10-4, the CCP for that will be Station 1, 200 South, 500 East. We have transport arranged for you there.
Taking pictures, and this is not far from where the police, they're pushing. This is what we saw earlier today. They're moving the line inch by inch or foot by foot back towards us right now. As far as I haven't heard police or any announcement as far as
Unit 10 to left.
I only know that there's a curfew because I've heard you guys talk about it. I see it on social media. There hasn't been any sort of law enforcement telling people, at 8 o'clock you have to go out
South, ambulance 31, and medic engine 35.
Alerts from those
just
cars. I could never hear
615 East 8000 South.
Asking people to
Code
disperse.
10,
There hasn't
Delta.
been any announcement from police saying, ma'am, there's a curfew. So as I mentioned, I think most people here don't know that there is
Can the UP Bearcat assist you in your location?
How the police are going to enforce it. I tried to talk with some officers about, what they're going to do come 8 o'clock, and they weren't able to give me any answers. So as far as it goes, it seems like it's a wait and see because people have been out here all day long, and I don't think they're going to be leaving in the next 30 minutes. As far as that kind of clash we saw with officers and demonstrators earlier, I haven't seen anybody with any, serious injuries. There were a few people that were pushed to the ground. I've seen a few people with some scrapes, but, there's a lot of debris around here, so they could have gotten that from anywhere. So I haven't seen any serious injuries. I also haven't seen anybody, taken into custody. I heard that the man with the bow and arrow likely was, but I don't know for sure. You can see projectiles this whole time, water bottles, some heavier objects as well have been thrown at police, most just landing over this line here in the intersection. I talked with people earlier today and just throughout the demonstrations here today. I asked them about, there's going to be people criticizing the destructions, vandalism, the violence, and I talked to a lot of people and they told me a lot of them don't want to see this. They don't think this represents their message, but also they say if this is what it takes to be heard, then they're going to do what it takes to be heard. But there have been people throughout the day who have been asking people to stop, get off signs, or to stop some of the destruction, but obviously that hasn't stopped a lot of things. Here you can see more things. All right, it looks like they're pushing people back some more.
Kelly, we also see National Guard members in some of the video that you've been showing us here.
Yes, they're kind of blocking 200 East on the other side. I haven't seen them interact with any demonstrators yet, but now it looks like something is, I think the police line are really pushing back on the demonstrators here right now, because it looks like they're backing up. As far as the National Guard, though, I haven't seen them get in the mix with demonstrators that much. At least from this angle. I can't say about the other sides of the intersection. So the kind of the slow walk for the police has been going on now for a couple of hours. But I know from personal experience, when the police decide to charge, that can happen at any time. And that's when... And that did happen earlier. Did it? Oh, I'm sorry to cut you off. No, did it happen? It already has. So a little bit earlier today, earlier before this car was flipped, the guy with the bow and arrow, the majority of the demonstrators were in the intersection. So police officers were kind of perpendicular to where they are now, lined up. And there was a moment where everyone started screaming and running. And we were hanging back, and we went in, and they said, you know, the police, they occasionally, part of their tactics, I guess, do a little charge forward to you know, cover some ground and push the line back. So that has happened. Police have rushed to the other side of the intersection. All right, it looks like police have rushed to the other side of the intersection, and now everyone's running. So maybe the police are charging again. Let's move over this. Can we move over this? Yeah, we're going to go take a peek. What? Oh my gosh, back up, Jake. There's a firework. Sorry, I didn't mean to scream, but there was a firework and we didn't want to be near it when it exploded. Fireworks, that's been going on today as well, and it's causing a lot of tension naturally because it sounds like gunshots. So we saw some action over here from police officers, so we were just coming over here to see what was happening. And for the record, the firework, it didn't hurt anybody, just got startled. All right, so we're coming over here to the other end of the intersection. Where it looks like maybe more crowds have gathered over here. I can't tell from this vantage point. Yeah, it's tough to tell from this angle. Some great camera work, by the way. Some wonderful photography. Yes, he's doing a great job. That camera's heavy, and he's been lugging it around through here. We're trying to get a gauge of what police are asking people to do. I haven't heard anything verbally yet, but we see them trying to push people back. Doesn't appear that they are in any mood to disperse yet. No, I would agree with you there. And the crowd just kind of shifts and moves, and people move all of a sudden, so we're trying to gauge if people are actually running from something or... Okay, we're going to back up. We're just hearing that something might be happening, so we're going to back up a bit. What's happening? This is part of the wave that seems to be rolling all through this. Sometimes there's a lull and then much more action, and then another lull, more violence, and another lull and more violence and more tension as the crowd challenges the police. Yes, it looks like the crowd has now pushed everyone more towards where we're standing. I think they've moved past where that car's on fire, so the crowd looks more dense because they've been pushed back. And we were just kind of given an impression that something might be about to happen, so that's why we were backing up. But again, from our angle, it's kind of hard to see from above. But that hands up, don't shoot, that's been a refrain all through today. Right in the face of these police officers here. Kelly, I'm wondering if you've had a chance to talk to people about why they're there. Are they there to watch? Are they there to commit violence? What is the purpose for many of them to be there? I've talked to a lot of people. I'd say the majority are people here that they wanted to speak up after the incident with George Floyd in Minneapolis. They wanted to speak out against, violence here in Utah. They wanted to speak out against, brutality against African American at the hands of police officers. That's what they say this demonstration's for. I would also like to say that most people I've spoken with said they do not support the violence, the vandalism. They don't think that helps send their message. And a lot of people say they don't even know if the people that are inciting all of this violence are really here for the same reasons they are. I couldn't say who is responsible specifically for the more violent aspects of today, but I do want to say that a lot of demonstrators here are condemning that, and they are here. They want to be peaceful. But there's also a great number of people I spoke with who just kind of want to see what's going to happen. I talked to a lot of people. They say, yeah, I'm not a protester. I just want to see, all the stuff get broken. That's actually exactly what somebody told me.
So here's what the former sheriff in Salt Lake County told us tonight. You have people who do care about racism. They do care about overreach by police officers in certain circumstances. They do care about those things. Then you have rubberneckers, people who come to watch, and that gives cover to the people who just want to come by and smash windows and commit vandalism and commit violence. That's what he says. And here's the knee again, with the fist again. Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, they're all taking a knee.
Approach.
They're asking everyone to take a knee for those that were killed because of police violence. And as you were saying, people that are here just to take part in, yeah, I've talked to a number of people that say, they're maybe not here to support this cause. They just want to see everything that's going on. But I keep repeating this because...
Everybody to the front! What y'all doing back there?
Because so many people I spoke with said they don't want the message to get lost in this demonstration. And it's hard to see past, the burning cars and things like that. But they are here for a reason, and they hope that it doesn't get lost during all this chaos.
Well, that's a good point, because we also heard from the news conference with the legislators this evening, people who have ethnic backgrounds who had a news conference, and they said, you know what, we had a peaceful demonstration this morning, and we had a line of cars, and we stood in solidarity, and we made our message known and heard. And after this violence downtown, all that people are going to talk about is the violence and the cars burning and things like that.
Right. And, I spoke with a lot of people, and they were asking me, is this the same protest from this morning? Is this the same people? I don't know for sure, but I did speak with a few people who were a part of that peaceful protest and then made their way here. And they themselves were wondering, when did this take a turn? So, as you mentioned, it seems like all of that peaceful protest, as you said, it's kind of been lost in the shuffle here with all that's gone on. And, I talked to a number of people who say, this is a consequence of us getting our message across, then they believe that it's worth it. And I spoke with one woman who told me, if we did this every time a black person was killed by a police officer, maybe it would stop. And she didn't have a problem with the escalation and the violence here because she believes that it will help, bring more light to what they're trying to accomplish.
Is there a sense there, because we've had pleadings now from everybody from the mayor to the governor to the police chief to the African American community to lots of people saying, please stop, this isn't the way to do it. We protest is good, but not like this. Does anybody there seem to get that message at all?
There was some women. I interviewed a woman, and she told me, in the beginning, they were trying to get people to stop. There was a person trying to bring down a crosswalk or a stoplight, and there was a group of people said, hey, get off, get down. There were people early breaking some of the glass of the track station. They were like, come on, get off, stop doing that. But, it kind of snowballed, and it's hard to stop a group of people. So there are a handful of people that were trying to stop the violence, but the destruction, but this is a huge crowd of people, and I don't see anyone stopping this group getting in the way of that. You know what I mean?
Mob mentality is the way that Sheriff Jim Winder described it. The mob mentality takes over, and then people who are not necessarily coming there to destroy things get caught up in the moment, and they start engaging in behavior that they otherwise wouldn't normally do. So you have a mob mentality.
That's right.
That develops.
I was asked, sorry, 1 second, I just lost you guys. I'm just calling back in because there was one thing I wanted to say.
Take your time. Kelly Vaughn getting her connection reestablished.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Oh, I'm back. I wanted to say, someone was asking me about counter protesters, if I'd seen anybody. I haven't seen anybody out here who identified themselves as a counter-protester, but some people believe that that man who I spoke about earlier, who had a bow and arrow out, a lot of people here were kind of assuming that he was here to harm demonstrators. So I don't know that for sure. And I have been told, some people told me, I didn't say this because I didn't know for sure, they said that he might have actually fired that bow and arrow at people. I do not know that for sure. But so there is a chance that he might have been someone here in opposition to these demonstrators. But other than that, which I can't confirm, I have not seen anyone here opposing the message that they're bringing out today. Just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, and the guy with the bow and arrow, we don't know. He could have been there to commit violence and may be supportive of this too. We're not sure. We don't know, and we don't know the status. No justice, no peace are the signs. White silence is violence is what another sign said there. So we've heard that theme today as well. We also know that we have about 15 minutes now.
We just heard some shots being fired. Not sure if they were rubber bullets or what, but the crowd definitely backed up. But now they're back.
Backed up. Okay, 15 minutes to go roughly until the curfew is supposed to be in place, and that does not appear to be something that is going to happen by 8 o'clock, at least at this location. Okay, Jim Spiewak is joining us this evening. Day off for you, and you're in reporting today from, I believe, 2nd East and 3rd South in that area, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Brian. And it was a day off, but you know what? Really, I think for the entire metro area, it's really been all hands on deck, at least watching history unfold. If we take a look right here at the corner, there's a gentleman here in a black hat. He's smoking a cigarette. He does have handcuffs on right now. Looks like he has been taken into police custody. We literally just walked up here moments ago, so I'm not quite sure exactly what the situation is behind that person in custody right now. Walking over here just a couple blocks, things are kind of as they've been throughout most of the day. As I was watching a little bit earlier, the coverage at home, there are people that are vocal on both sides of the issue. I saw a lot of water bottles being thrown amongst people, as that's something that we saw earlier today. But as you can see right here at 2nd East and 3rd South, at least for the most part right now, there is order in the streets. Law enforcement has this entire block pretty much on lockdown, as you can see in their tactical gear. This is something that is becoming more of a familiar scene throughout the day. We do have another gentleman over here sitting on the curb. Looks like he's talking with a couple of EMT paramedics, might be getting some medical treatment perhaps. But we do have this other gentleman. There was a larger crowd around him just a few moments ago. They have since walked away, and that gentleman in handcuffs is remaining, so I'm not sure if he's going to find his way to a jail cell at some point throughout the evening. But as you just mentioned, we are now inside of about 15 minutes until this mandatory curfew goes into effect. That was set by Salt Lake City Mayor Erin Mendenhall. She says that she's not going to tolerate anything. The police chief, Mike Brown, says he's not going to tolerate anything. But there are still a ton of people out here on the streets. I just want to show you a little bit. It's kind of hard to see because of all the trees that are lined, but this is pointing down 2nd East, heading south away from the Capitol, and you can see there's still a large group of people gathering down there. The photojournalist that I'm with, he was in the area. He says that a large group of people have made their way down 2nd East within the last few minutes. That is back down towards the library and towards the police department, where I know that there's been some activity throughout the rest of the day. So that's what's going on here right now at 2nd East and 3rd South. We'll continue to keep an eye on the activity going on out here, but that is exactly what we are seeing out here. Brian?
Good to have you along this evening. Appreciate it very much, and good to see some order on that block, because it's not that way where Kelly Vaughn is right now. Back to Kelly and the crowd that is still gathered there and not seeming to go anywhere. Kelly.
All right, so what we've been seeing the past few minutes is kind of a swell they'll go up towards the police line, and then something will happen. We heard this sound of possibly rubber bullets being fired or things like that, and then everyone will kind of push back, run away, and then they'll push back up. So it's kind of been ebbing and flowing here. Now this is right up against the police line. All these people here on the other side of the Black Lives Matter cardboard poster, they're right up against the police line. But I do want to show you that there are people hanging back this way. Down 200 East, we've got a number of people hanging back here, as well as in the park next to this. But I'm waiting to hear if the police are telling these demonstrators to go anywhere or do anything. And I asked some of the people that were up towards the front, and they said they haven't heard any sort of directions from the police officer. But right now, it's just kind of, it'll calm, and then someone will throw something at the officers. The officers will, take action against the demonstrators, and then it'll calm back down again. But we're getting close. Let's see. It's 7:45, and like I said, I haven't heard any message to people that they need to leave by 8 o'clock. I haven't heard the police tell any of the people here, and I continue to ask demonstrators if they heard about the curfew, if they care about the curfew, and the answer to both of those is generally no. Now, there are people that said that this was getting a little too intense for them, so I did talk to some people that had left, but as far as crowd numbers, at least where I'm standing, it's maintained a very high presence of demonstrators here.
So maybe what you have left is the people who are the most agitated, those that may be the most volatile, and instead of the other scenario where the agitators were surgically, as Jim Winder said, picked out of the crowd. Maybe that's not happening. Yeah, it is curious. I've been in police situation before where officers got on the bullhorn and they announced, hey, you need to do this and you need to do it by this time or else. And we haven't heard the or else yet.
I haven't, and that's what I've been keeping my ear out for, a message telling people, clear out, you've got 15 minutes or XYZ. I haven't heard anything. There has been some sort of message from the armored car, but I don't think it was a specific message. But again, I haven't heard from police telling people to leave by 8. I haven't heard them get on any speakers or bullhorn. The demonstrators certainly have been, and there's been times I thought it was directions from police to do something and it was a demonstrator.
Do you see the officers still making their slow push against the crowd?
We got it. Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of moved on a diagonal now. We're not up at the line, but it's kind of moved slowly and slowly. They're on a diagonal across 200 East pushing people, but it's happening extremely slowly. I haven't seen any of those, we were talking about when they kind of cover a lot of ground and shove people. That hasn't happened yet because we haven't seen anybody, running away from the police line. But it does seem like they are, edging their way. And I don't know if you can see up there, I don't think we saw that before, that sign from the stairwell that says Black Lives Matter. It's kind of curled up. But, even over there, they're demonstrating signs. Earlier today, we saw some people, throwing rocks at this window. So the protests and the demonstrations have kind of scattered, but now they're really centralized right here. And as the police, like you've said, they're inching their way down, but I haven't seen any big moves or shifts in the police line anytime soon. And like I could ask probably anybody here about that curfew, and I continue to do so, and they don't know about it. So I don't think they know if there are any repercussions to not leaving here in the next 15 minutes. So that'll be interesting to see what's going to happen, and if people will,
And the police chief has said he's going to clear the streets.
Right. That was on the megaphone. I thought that might have been an officer, but it was a demonstrator.
Okay.
I was just trying to listen to hear, but...
All right, we're going to go to Jim Spiewak back in the area of 3rd South, 2nd East. Jim, you have an arrest there that you've witnessed. Is that right?
Yeah, right over here. We've got a gentleman in handcuffs. He's being escorted away by a couple officers right now. Don't know again exactly what the incident was as we just pulled up here we're at 2nd East and 4th South now. This is the area that we were describing just a few minutes ago during our last live location where we saw a big crowd dispersing. It is getting rather windy out here. It's rather dusty, and this is where you're seeing a large congregation of folks. And essentially, let me paint the scene for you. You can smell burnt char. There's just law enforcement in 360 degrees everywhere you turn and look in tactical gear. There are protesters with signs. It's vulgar, it's emotional, it's raw. And that is what we are witnessing out here right now with just a few minutes before this curfew goes into effect. It's really quite amazing and overwhelming, to say the least, the situation that is unfolding out here as we are just a few minutes away now from the curfew. So let's go ahead, if you can, Nick, over here, kind of get up on these steps to get a little bit of a different vantage point. We can get a little bit of height just to show you the volume and the sheer volume of people that are still out here. Now, mind you, according to Mayor Mendenhall, all of these people need to be inside their house in 7 minutes. That's not going to happen at this point. If you take a look out there, it's almost a sea of people at 2nd East and 4th South. A sea of protesters, a sea of police and first responders. We have been told there are state, local, and federal officials out here trying to mitigate this situation. If we look just over to our left, there is still that cop car that is on its rooftop that is still smoldering. That is the char that we are smelling out here. There are cop cars that are lining the streets in each direction as far as we can see. There is order right now, I will say that. There are people that are vocal, there are people that are loud, there are people that are in law enforcement's faces as they continue to get hydrated. It is very hot out here. It's very windy. What I'm breathing in right now is some of the char coming off of that car that protesters set on fire. So it's really quite an incredible scene out here, Brian. If you can see what we are seeing, it's incredible.
Heard from Salt Lake County Sheriff Jim Winder that going into the night is going to be critical. This is a critical time, and police, according to him, need to act swiftly. They need to act quickly. He was not critical of the initial response, even though others might say that it took a while for police to arrive at the first smoldering police car. There's the helicopter overhead. Maybe a National Guard helicopter. That's the way it looks to me, not a DPS
Brian,
chopper.
That's a National Guard chopper right there. And so what police are doing right now, didn't mean to cut you off, Brian, but yeah, that's the first time we've seen one of those military-style choppers come by here. It looks like some police right now they're gathering in groups in some areas. I have to imagine they're going over their tactical plan because the end goal here is to get everyone inside safely by 8 o'clock. That's clearly not going to happen. We're probably inside 5 minutes from that happening. There's got to be at least 1,000 more people out here. I haven't had a chance to really talk to any protesters to see if they plan on leaving right at 8 o'clock, if they even know right now if they have to be home at 8 o'clock. Hey, Nick, let's go ahead and take a look right here at this girl. She's got a skateboard. She's just sitting down right in front of police officers. That is a lot of what we're seeing out here. They're just sort of sitting down and standing in front of police officers, almost in like a standoff style position. I've seen that several times now while out here. And quite frankly, coming out here, there is an atmosphere. Of uncertainty. There is an atmosphere. You have to have your head on a swivel because you just don't know, considering what we've seen. Across the country. We haven't seen anything, at least from my vantage point, anything physical yet. At this point, but I've only been out here a few minutes. Obviously, when you take a look to my left and you see a charred police cruiser. You know that hasn't been the case all day long. But just looking out at the sea of people. It's hard to tell if there's one particular ringleader that might take over. For the protesters, and lead the charge one way or the other. It does sound like if they are starting to chant something. I'm standing a little bit far away, so I can't